For all them PS boys out there, man, y'all know what time it is. If you a Sony pony, you need to get hype. If you a Xbox boy, you need to get hype. If you a Nintendo boy, you need to get hype. Get hype, get hype, get hype. If you a Sony pony, giddy up, giddy up. If you a Sony pony, you need to get hype. Get hype, get hype, get hype. Get hype, man, it's about to go down. I said the haters gonna hate. They hating on the T-flops. They can't stop us because we got the exclusives, the games, the storytelling, minds blowing. Understand them Xbox boys, they trying to destroy us. Nintendo boys, we still stand tall. Boys in red, you know how we do it. Let's get it on, let's get it popping. And this is why we gotta get hype, man. Let's get it on, man. Ayy. Ayy, ayy, ayy. You need to get hype. Ayy, ayy, ayy. You need to get hype. Hey, this is for all them PS boys out there, man. Y'all know what time it is. If you a Sony pony, you need to get hype. If you a Xbox boy, you need to get hype. If you a Nintendo boy, you need to get hype. Get hype, get hype, get hype. If you a Sony pony, giddy up, giddy up. If you a Sony pony, you need to get hype. Get hype, get hype, get hype. Get hype, man, it's about to go down. I said the haters gonna hate. They hating on the T-flops. They can't stop us because we got the exclusives, the games, the storytelling, minds blowing. Understand them Xbox boys, they trying to destroy us. Nintendo boys, we still stand tall. Boys in red, you know how we do it. Let's get it on, let's get it popping. And this is why we gotta get hype, man. Let's get it on, man. Ayy. Ayy, ayy, ayy. You need to get hype. Ayy, ayy, ayy. You need to get hype. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome. How you guys doing? Are you guys ready? Oh, wait, hold up. My camera is messed up. Hold on. Okay. All right, we just waiting right now. How you guys doing? Are you guys ready? Are you guys ready? What's up, everybody? What's going on? Welcome to the PlayStation developer interview. I try to come through as much as I possibly can. Just waiting for him to join in here. So hopefully everybody is ready. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Make sure you guys hit that share button. It's kind of weird of me streaming on a Sunday, right? It's kind of like weird for me to stream on a Sunday, but it's all good. Definitely, if you guys have any questions or anything like that, you could super chat or something. That normally helps out. And then whenever I can get around to the questions, I'll do that for sure. So hopefully you guys are excited. Let's see here. What's up, everybody? What's up? While we wait, let me make sure that everything is good to go here. Give me 1 second. Let me see. Make sure we're good to go. I know you guys are excited. Let me see. Let me do this real quick. Give me a second, guys. Give me 1 second. You might see a black screen. Just give me a second. I'm trying to sort something out here just to make sure everything is good to go. Oh, there we go. Perfect. All right. I think we're good.
We are.
Hello?
Oh, can you hear me?
Yay. Hey, what's going on?
Not much. How are you keeping?
Oh man, not bad at all. You know, just everybody's like really excited about this. I'm excited as well. So, you know, I'm just pretty pumped. So how's everything been holding up for you?
Not too bad. You know, it's been a crazy few months, and it's going to continue to be a crazy few months with all the changes happening in the gaming world, especially with the pandemic going on. Studios have kind of just been dropping like flies, so to be able to kind of last it out and anything thrive through it has been it's been an achievement in its own. So we're just happy to be still here.
Okay, I don't know, something with the mic, like it's going in and out for some reason. I don't know.
Let me try this. Is this better?
Say something again.
Let me try this. I'll get closer. Is this better? Any better?
Yeah, maybe. That sounds a little bit better.
Let me see. Okay. Tell me if it cuts out though, because I can see if I can jig it around a little. I was testing it on Discord and it seemed fine. So maybe it's latency or something. Let me turn off this.
Okay.
Let's see. Right, maybe that's let me turn off this. There might be like a low pass filter or something.
Yeah, because like when you would talk and stuff, like it would just like get loud and then it will come back down.
Yeah.
Get loud.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
So I was like, wait a minute.
Yeah, I think this. Yeah, so I'm on the raw line now, so that shouldn't do that. Hopefully.
Yeah, I think it sound a lot better now. Definitely sound a lot better. So,
that's good.
My God! First of all, thank you so much for being a fan of the channel and everything. So, how did you discover the channel?
I am a serial scoper out of different channels on YouTube. Right. So, a big philosophy for me is that gamers are fatigued in this generation. They are sick and tired of feeling like developers just don't give a hoot about them. So I believe that to really make a decent game, you have to know the players. You have to know what people want, and you have to know people's concerns. Like when I'm listening to the show, when I'm listening and I hear what you're saying regarding like, you know, different things, I'm like, okay, here's a real concern here. And by looking at the comments, I can see it's not just like you that has that concern, it's multiple people. So I'm like, okay, if I can hit all these elements and I can ensure that I'm not doing any of these things, I'm going to be in a good spot. So, you know, it's definitely something that I scope out. And I follow over thousands of gaming channels. But yours specifically has stuck out to me as being very authentic and kind of real. That's the big thing. And that's the thing that I like. You know, I don't like, you know, people that kind of, you can, like, you know, maybe 6 months ago, they had a different opinion, and maybe, you know, now a brown envelope came under the door and suddenly they've changed their opinion. So that's a big thing for me, is authenticity. And, you know, that's what I love my network to be about. I love, you know, positivity and, you know, good vibes. And if something needs to be changed, I don't like people that shy away from it. You know, if something's wrong with someone's game, I want to know about it. And I want to know, okay, how can we change this? And how can we make this better for everyone? So that's kind of my philosophy, and that's why I love the channel so much, and why it's such a, you know, it's such a great piece of, you know, it saves me going out and getting, like, you know, really high-end QA and stuff. I don't have to focus. I don't have to focus test because the information's already out there. You know, people are very vocal in the gaming community, and that's one of the great things about the community, is that they'll tell you if they don't like something, and they'll tell you if they love something.
They
love
something, right?
Yeah, and that's extremely important. So
yeah, most definitely. You know, so tell me, before we get into the PS5 stuff, tell me a little bit about the game that you're working on right now. I really want to know more about this because I saw the trailer, but it didn't really show any gameplay or anything like that. And this is exclusive for the PS4, and I'm pretty sure this is coming to PS5 as well, right?
We're not allowed to confirm or deny whether the game's coming to PS5 or not, but, you know, let's just say that we're not you're not going to be waiting on anything. So, you know, it's I can't confirm or deny, but it's going to be good. But yeah, but I'll just tell you what the game is. So essentially, the announcement trailer is what you've seen. We haven't dropped the gameplay trailer yet, and the main reason behind that is, and that's actually coming out at the end of the month, the gameplay trailer, so that we're excited people to see that. The reason we kind of made the announcement trailer very mysterious and kind of unique was to catch people's eye and, you know, kind of get a narrative across. Yeah, we come from a film background, so it's, you know, it's something that we like to build upon, and that's kind of the reason behind the trailer. But essentially what the game is it's a Halloween themed turn-based action adventure game, and it's kind of set in an open world environment, and it's played from like a third person perspective, so kind of top down isometric. The player kind of takes on the role of this young child called Rain, who's actually on a quest to beat the Apex Cup while unknowingly saving Halloween. Now, the Apex Cup is a competition which is held on Halloween night, where in this town of Monkchester, where the children of the town use these kind of magical creatures called Holomon in a tournament to see who is the champion. During the game, you'll be building your team of Holomon, trick-or-treating your way through the breathtaking Monkchester, and collecting costumes, completing quests, and unlocking kind of different abilities from your costumes and your Holomons that are going to, you know, give you new powers to help you get through the world. And the ultimate game goal of the game is to defeat the kind of enemy of the game, who's called Pineapple, and save Halloween. So it's kind of like a very child team, kind of Tim Burton style game, and it's you know, taking inspiration from, you know, games like the classic platform games like Costume Quest, because I love the Costume Quest series. It's a big inspiration. Double Fine, you know, their work is truly amazing. You know, we were very disappointed internally when they got kind of, when the studio kind of stopped doing Costume Quest and moved on to other things. So we were like, okay, we think there's a gap in the market here. We feel this is something that we want to do, you know, because it's all about passion for us. Like our last game, Castle Costume, was like a collectathon game. It was just pure a passion project. And that's kind of what we like to do. We feel that if we put enough soul into the game, that it's going to shine through. And, you know, the one thing that we'd never want people to say about our games is that, okay, this was just a cash grab. This was just, you know, something that people made because they didn't really care. You know, we're gamers ourselves, and we always want to stay true to that and make, you know, something that we love. And we think if we do that, then it's going to bleed through into the title. So the game is it's coming out this year. We haven't announced an official launch date yet, but I can say it's a Halloween game, and it's going to be coming out for Halloween. So around that time scale. So we're pretty close to launch. You know, everything's kind of all the dots are crossed, and we're ready to rock. And you know, we're really excited to get this game out there. Like, internally as a studio, we've struggled the past few years with regards to timelines. So for example, we'd have this massive scope for a game, and then 6 months down the line, we're only a quarter way through, and we've a 1 year dev cycle, and then we're like, oh my god, we're gonna have to cut things. So with this title, though, it was so different. It was just everything fell into place. And you know, our initial design document, we completed that within 6 months. And the last 6 months was literally just new features. Every day in the office, it has been, you know, okay, what cool new mechanic do we want to implement? You know, some people have crazy ideas. Like, for example, one feature in the game that was only implemented in the last 3 months was, like, you get to build your own zoo in the game of these little creatures, and you get to collect them. And, you know, it's kind of an area where you can chill out. It's got some nice music. We've got fishing mechanics, you know. So there's loads of these little fun little things that are going on, and it's just, you know, filled with content, jam-packed. And, you know, it's one of them games. It's not a $60 game. It's going to be launching for $9.99. So, you know, it's you know, we want to our games need to be accessible. You know, that's the thing. Especially with COVID going on, I know everyone's taking a hit. So it was kind of the option for us internally. It was like, okay, are we going to release this for like 25? And, you know, just not really care what people say and just be like, well, that's what we deserve? Or are we going to, you know, be like, okay, well, the gaming community's hurting, so we're going to hurt a little bit too. And let's just, you know, make it, you know, kind of accessible to everyone. So that was the goal with it. So it's definitely, I'm very excited. I'm absolutely pumped, and I'm pumped. I'm pumped for our next title as well, because we've already started. You know, we've and you know, the way I kind of class this is, you know, every game has been a step up so far, so we're climbing that ladder. And with this next game, it's not a climb anymore; it's a leap. Like, literally. The technology we have implemented already so far is amazing. Is really amazing. Like, just the graphical fidelity that we're hitting, you know, the new hires that we have is really, really going to be crazy. And what I'm really excited for is, and what we're pushing for in this next game, is really data persistence within the world. So, for example, you know, it's like the classic, you know, fable adage, you know, you hit a tree, an acorn drops, and then the tree grows over time type of thing. You know, we really want to get that type of, you know, detail within the game. And we've ran some tests so far, and like, you know, we're only a month in, and I can say already that, you know, I've already, like, you know, it was kind of like that moment when I've like played our new demo. I just opened it up and I was like, did we make this? I was like, you know, so it was like, it's amazing. And I think a lot of studios are having that because, you know, and moving into the next generation of hardware, it's like, so we, like, and it's not just related to PlayStation, Xbox, you know, Nintendo. It's in general, right? Consoles now are 10 years old nearly. Like, you know, they're old pieces of kit. So, like, you know, when we make a game, we're essentially limiting ourselves so much. We can't do the latest things because it's just not capable within the system requirements. But now with the next generation of hardware, it's like, okay, here's the key to Pandora's box. Go show us what you can do. You know, so we're not having to worry about as much CPU cycles. The draw calls don't matter as much. The loading times are like, loading times are a big thing in games. The next generation of hardware, it's not really going to matter. Like, we're going to be able to have a seamless open world as big as we want and do whatever we want within it.
Wow.
And here's the really cool thing.
Yes.
And here's a big thing people don't really realize, artificial intelligence within games is going to get so much better. Like, it's going to be,
God.
And the reason it is because the CPUs within the consoles are like leveling up, because that's one of the most processor intensive things is kind of AI calculations. So being able to do these bigger dynamic systems is going to really, start to, it's opening up a whole new area of game design. Like, for example, what's to stop a new developer from, kind of doing fully procedural like generation with regards to people? Like, there's technology that out there that can do that right now. Like, what's to stop people from scanning themselves into games and doing so? Like, there's loads of really cool things that can be done, and the technology's been there for years to do it. But we've just been limited. It's just been like, here's a gate. You can't really go past that gate. You have to stick within it. So I'm really hyped for the next generation. It's going to be crazy.
Oh, and my God.
It really is. It's
I'm really pumped as well. And this is interesting that you're talking about the development of this game and its Costume Kingdom. And so this is going to be exclusive to the PlayStation 4 right now. So it's on nothing else but just the PS4. And it's going to be $10, and it's coming out in October. So that's good. So they can actually look forward to that. Now, I know we talked briefly last night about something, so let's get over into the PS5 stuff. I know you're under NDA, but I know you say you could share a few things with us. But when you were telling me last night about the game, right? For instance, the Costume Kingdom game, and you were explaining how the power of the PS5 and how fast the SSD is. Could you kind of elaborate on that again, just so they can understand what this SSD is and how huge of a deal this is? Yeah.
So, right. So essentially, and this is I get excited every time when I'm talking about this.
Let's go.
Yeah. Right. So all consoles previously in the previous generation use mechanical hard drives. So what that means is, essentially, it means there's like a little arm right into a CD disc. That's essentially what it is. And that little arm takes time to access data. So, for example, it's a 1 second to spin up that disc. It takes 1 second. So, like, you're only pulling, say, I don't know, 7,200 RPM a minute. So you're getting like, you're maxed under it. Like, the data limit you can pull is very limited. So say, for example, let's take Costume Kingdom. That averages around 3 GB in total game size. That would take typically to load. It usually takes around 30 seconds, right?
Wow.
Whereas with the PlayStation 5, with the SSD speeds that they have provided in their press releases, that could load that raw data in around 0.6 of a second. Now,
and that is insane.
Yeah, and here's the really cool thing, right? If you think about it, imagine a world like Skyrim. So a really big game.
Yeah.
Massive game. With this new power of this new SSD, there's nothing stopping, because one of the big things that plagued Skyrim was loading times. Which there's nothing to stopping game developers streaming data continuously when you play the game. So we're probably looking at no load screens ever again, really.
Man, I can just imagine that, because right now with the PS4, it's like a bottleneck. You got to sit there. At least with Ghost of Tsushima, there was little to no loading with that, and that was just impressive. But Last of Us 2, same thing. So I think Sony has gotten a lot better. Even with the limited hardware, with the PS4, they've gotten a lot better with that, with those two games. But before, like Grand Theft Auto 5, I mean, that loading was, oh my God. So I can just imagine what you're saying with literally no loading at all. Because Mark Cerny, when he had that presentation, he was actually explaining everything. And I was like, oh my God, like this is too much math for my brain right now.
Yeah, he threw numbers out. He threw a lot of numbers out, and of course, you know, so all those devs were like, "Oh yeah, this is great," and then all the general public were like, "Okay, what does this mean?" So it's like telling someone who knows nothing about cars, "Okay, this car has so much horsepower." It's like I don't really know what that means and how that's going to affect my play experience. So essentially, for gamers, what it means that load times are slashed, gone. Like, you know, it's not going to be. Or if there is a load time, it means they're going to be pulling in some crazy amount of data. Like some absolute, like 5 gig a second is the rated speed that's been announced by Sony publicly, and 5 gig of raw data. Now, like, the CPU can't even process that amount of data that quickly. So, you know, the data's gone. That's not a problem. So that means textures as well. So here's another thing, right? Okay, so textures in games are, you know, massively big. They're one of the things that just take up a lot of space on a hard drive or SSD. So what game developers can do now is they can split all that into little chunks. So think of it as like little pieces. So imagine you've got like 100 boxes, and they can just stream in which box they need at that certain time with little to no load time. So what that's going to enable them to do is have really high res textures. Like, you know, I've heard rumors of, you know, some people doing like up to 8K, like, you know, stuff. And but here's the thing, that's never going to actually, I don't foresee 8K becoming a thing for the next 10 years. The main reason being is we've got bandwidth issues with regards to everyone would need to upgrade internet. Everyone would, you know, there'd be massive issues, especially for multiplayer games. I can't see that ever becoming really a thing for a long time. But in single player experiences, we just don't know what the devs are like playing with. Because I know, like, and I know a lot of R&D tech guys in the industry that work kind of for Sony and other big AAA companies. They've been just, you know, the last couple of months, they've literally just been deving just new technology, new ideas, you know, because like every kind of R&D specialist I know had like a little notebook of stuff that they could always wanted to do, but it just wasn't possible. So when the new gen comes in, it's like, okay, let's see what we can do. Let's see what new mechanics we can implement. And it's yeah, go ahead.
So basically what I wanted to ask you was, like, with the PS5, like, as far as development goes, like, how much more easier it is for you or for your studio to actually develop a game for the PS5 with all of that, like, power and the SSD and the smart shift and all of that?
Games never get easier to make, and that's the thing. It's unfortunate, and the reason they never get easier is because we're pushing. Like, so we're always pushing the hardware to the limit. That's always what a dev do. I know no dev that kind of, you know, flies under the radar. They're always pushing it to the limit. Everyone always has to do optimization. So essentially what it means is, it just means the quality is going to go up. The level of pressure, the level of commitment that we have to put in is going to be the same, because we're going to be pushing, and we're going to be pushing hard, you know, to get to that next level. It just means that for players, you know, it's time to level up. It's time to get really, you know, their dreams are going to become a reality, and that's really the thing. And I know a lot of studios are pushing for that, you know, and especially with, obviously, we've got live service model games. I can't even imagine what they are going to do. You know, the amount of deep customization options that are going to be available now. Because as I was saying, you know, data is no longer really an issue for load times. So there's going to be, you know, crazy stuff going on. And it's definitely going to be a very interesting over the next kind of 2 years. Because obviously everyone knows, you know, there's no there's no mystique about it. The first year of any new console's launch, be it PlayStation, Microsoft, you know, whatever, there's going to be issues. There's going to be teething problems. There always is. Like, you know, every console has it. It's like when any product, when a game launches, we have 1 or 2 bugs. We fix them after a while, but that's just the nature of product development as a whole. And so it's going to be very interesting to see the evolution over 4 years. So, you know, every console has its own life cycle. So 4 years in, I think we're going to start to see the real strides going in. Because if you think about it as well, all the devs have to rewrite all their systems as well for the new kind of console. So there is going to be maybe a little lack of some titles at launch, like fresh out of the gate, especially with COVID. I know that's hit AAA studios really hard. So they kind of have to pull back a little on their next titles. So, you know, I think gamers are going to have to be a little patient, but, you know, I know that some of the titles that are coming out are going to really blow our minds.
Oh, my God.
It's going to be awesome.
It's going to be awesome. Yeah. Okay. So one of the biggest questions that I think a lot of people have right now is, I would say, backwards compatibility. But before we get into backwards compatibility, there was this rumor that was going around that was saying that the PS5 cannot run 4K games. It can't run the third-party games very well. So the Series X is going to be doing a very good job at that. Is there any way you could elaborate on that? Like, as far as like the PS5 actually running 4K games at all?
That I heard that rumor. That's just propaganda. That's all that is.
Wow, expose. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's just propaganda. There's no truth to that. Right, so and I was thinking about this earlier because I get asked this a lot. I could make the world's best supercomputer not be able to run a 1080p game. Give me 5 minutes, I could do it.
Yeah.
It's not hard. Just make an infinite loop to get the console won't boot. Like two lines of code, it won't boot. Like it'll just crash it. So that's not hard to do. So technically, if we're getting like, you know, semantics here, that rumor is correct. There's probably a 4K title that it can't run, but being realistic, no. Like, you know, it can run it as well as anything else. Like if you compare the specs that have been publicly announced, again, the Xbox and the PlayStation, it's, you know, I'm a Sony dev. I love Sony. Sony treat me very well. I love them. So, you know, they're the best. I've worked with Microsoft. I've worked with Sony, and you know, our first title was on Xbox back in the day. And
what game was that?
The one we found, that was a survival horror game. Yeah, it was kind of launched in 2018. Yeah, so that was a survival horror game, very similar to Resident Evil. That was our first title out of the gate. Yeah, so that was our first title out of the gate, but we switched to Sony, and I'm not partial to say this, but Sony treated us much better. That's really what I can say. They've been much more as an indie developer. As an indie developer, I've felt more supported by Sony as a whole, and that be across the board. That be, you know, the titles that I wanted to push, the titles that I felt the players wanted. Sony have always backed me, and Sony have said, "Listen, you know, we're happy to, you know, work with you," type of thing. So whereas I found a resistance with Microsoft in certain aspects, like for example, they don't like certain genres. You know,
Microsoft?
they don't like for, and I'm not gonna give any like into the fine detail of it. What I can say is that, you know, there was a concept that was brought to the table that we were essentially refused out of the gate, and it was just kind of like, no, not interested. If you want to do that, go elsewhere. And here's the funny thing, and here's the kicker: we took that title, we refined it, and we brought that to Sony, and that game was done really well. It done really well. They believed out of the gate. They were like, listen, you know, it's always very open. It's very open. I really can't say enough how much I really love Sony. You know, they treat their developers right, and they know how to build a community. And that's something that I feel that has been, it's tough in the community as a publisher. You know, I feel that it's the strong arm tactic doesn't work. You have to let creatives do their thing. And, you know, a variety of titles in any market is going to do well. There's a player base for any audience. And I don't feel that, you know, saying no to a specific genre just because maybe it hasn't sold well over the last few years is a crazy thing. So yeah, it's been quite a journey, but that's the reason why we're Sony exclusive, is because we believe that once we get a hit title, we want to give back to Sony. We want them to get that initial wave. We want them to make that revenue because they deserve it. They've believed in us since day one. You know, and even like, you know, yeah, they've just been great. Like, there's obviously things that I can't say that they've done for us, but it's all. What I will say is that they've given us every opportunity, and they've allowed us that room to grow as a studio, and they've been amazing. They've truly, I can't vouch enough for them. And that's why when I hear rumors like, oh, I can't play 4K games, yeah, it'll be fine. I wouldn't worry about that. You know, that's not on Sony's really part to figure out. That's on the devs' part.
That's on the, exactly. Yeah.
If a dev can't make a 4K game, they won't make a 4K game. I can nearly guarantee you this. If it's any way possible on any console, Sony like games for PlayStation will do it. And that's so I wouldn't believe them rumors. You know, there's obviously it's a big competition between Microsoft and Sony with the new consoles. I don't know why they kind of go head to head every year when they're launching next generation. It doesn't make sense to me, but you know, it's just one of those things. It's just a big land grab at the end of the day. But as a developer, you know, it's either hardware looks great, you know, and I think that it's going to be. And here's actually another thing that people don't realize. The games are only as limited as the worst console out there. Now, what do I mean by that? Because an experience has to be similar across each platform. So if a game, say for example, hypothetically, the new Xbox is terrible, absolutely terrible, it doesn't work, whatever, and it got really bad limitations. Well, then a studio that's making a multi-platform game, they're going to have to accommodate for that, and that's going to affect the other versions of the title. Yeah. So it's you know, you're only as limited as the worst platform out there that you're deving for, and that's really the thing. So I don't see this kind of the way people like to, you know, forge it as like a war against each other. It's like, listen, if you like Xbox more, your friends are more on Xbox, play Xbox. If you love Sony and you like gaining communities, well, then stick with Sony, because, you know, they're better for building communities and they treat their players better and their devs better. So, you know, that's my opinion. And then Nintendo as well. Nintendo, I have to say, they're great. I do love Nintendo. You know, we're registered. We're with them also. We've never done a title for them, but, you know, we do hope. So our plans as a studio as a whole is we believe to develop one title at once for one platform, make sure it's a killer, you know, hit, no bugs, you know, quality title. If it does well, if the market likes it, then we'll start to worry about the other platforms. But we believe in one entity first, make sure the quality's the best, and then take from there. Wow. That's really the main thing.
And see, that's powerful. That's powerful that you're saying all of this, because it's been a war between the two consoles right now. And just to, as a dev, just to actually hear that coming from you, saying that, you know, Sony really, you know, looks out for you guys and treat you guys well over Microsoft, that says a lot, because I think one of the biggest bottlenecks right now in the industry for Microsoft is that they hire they get all these studios, but the games they don't match up with the quality of what Sony developers are able to give us. And that's what differentiates the difference between the titles. And, you know, leading over into next generation with Halo Infinite, you know, being delayed, the thing that I'm hearing now is that they're not worried about, you know, Halo Infinite being delayed. Their main focus right now is Game Pass. And I feel personally that, yes, Game Pass is a great value, but at the same time, it's actually holding back the quality of the games. Because here's the thing, with the Xbox whole ecosystem, developers have to develop for the lowest common denominator, which is the, you know, old 2013 Xbox One, which was not even that powerful. You know what I'm saying? The PS4 was more powerful. And so if developers have to sit there and develop for that low end common denominator system, then it's going to be holding back the future games. And I saw an article recently that's saying that developers are actually struggling, you know, with next gen games because of the old hardware, because of the Xbox One and the PS4. So just to hear that Sony really take care of you guys says a lot, because it really shines through a lot of the things that we're seeing right now with the games. And I've always been saying, I said, Sony and Nintendo are two of the best, you know, I'm saying, in the companies when it comes to gaming, because you can really see the quality of the game, especially when it comes to Sony's greatest strength, I think, is their single player games. And I mean, some of the greatest stories that have been ever told is single player stuff from Sony and Nintendo. You know, Microsoft, I think they're more of a shooter box. And I know Phil said that they're trying to pull away from that, but that's just what I kind of gather from that. But kudos to Sony, man. I know they spent a lot of money trying to aid developers that were affected by COVID. So I don't know if you guys were a part of that funding, but that's really good to hear that, you know, that they're actually taking care of people.
And that's one thing as well. I know there were some rumors going around that Sony didn't, that was just a press thing, and Sony didn't, you know, give people funding. That was going around a little bit. That's complete nonsense. They literally opened arms to everyone. It was really truly amazing. And as soon as it hit, they were just like, listen, guys, we know everyone's hurting. You know, we're here to help. We've set up this thing. If you're in need, let us know and we'll help you out. And that was the consensus. It was a very family kind of, that's the vibe I got from it. It was very family oriented. It was like, okay, you know, we know that without you, we can't do it. Whereas with other consoles, I always felt we were the, you know, kind of the bug under the shoe type of thing, kind of annoying them aspect. So we've stuck with Sony, and we plan to stick with Sony for a long time. You know, as long as Sony's, you know, as long as Sony's in existence, they'll be getting exclusivity at least. That's the way I look at it. At least 6 months. That's what I give them every time. That's what they're getting, and that's regardless of how big we get, because I think, and it's that's our company's brand mission, which is remember your roots, love what you do, and you know, for us to, that's a promise that I'm going to keep. And if I ever don't keep that promise, I feel I failed as a company director. It's definitely something that you have to, you know, if someone brings you up and they help you while you're coming up, then you have to, when you're riding the highs, you have to be able to, you know, hold true to your promise. And I think that's a really big thing that, you know, maybe certain studios haven't done. You know, they've kind of, some people have jumped overboard, because obviously it's, you know, it's a continual sniping match between the two. You know, everyone's looking for exclusivity. Everyone's looking for that title. Everyone's looking for that. But, you know, I think it does reign true for itself. Like, if you look at the main exclusives that Sony gets, you know, there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. Whereas, whereas with other platforms, it's not really that strong. You know, the exclusive guy, because listen, as a dev, giving up exclusivity is a big thing. You're kind of, you're essentially saying to the other platforms, you know, we value such and such platform over you. We hold them in a higher aspect. And, you know, other platforms don't really like that. Like, you know, there is a thing, like, you know, where if you give a platform exclusivity, it's notoriously harder to get your game onto other platforms. Nintendo isn't too bad about it. They're like, listen, we understand. But, you know, other platforms are kind of, you know, it's well known that it's like, okay, you've given exclusivity, close the gate type of thing. Yeah. So it's definitely something that I'm always looking at. And listen, I just love Sony. I really do. There's
me too. Me too. You see, I got it all here, man. I got it. I got it all here. I love Sony, man. You know, ever since I was a kid, you know, growing up, I love PlayStation. I love what Sony does. You know, it's just amazing. The games, the hardware. I mean, just everything that Sony stand for. I'm just into it, you know, and Nintendo as well. Microsoft, it's always been a love and hate relationship with me and Microsoft, because it's like they'll make certain games that you can relate to and that you can fall in love with, and then they'll do something else that would kind of just remove that. And so 360 for me was by far the best, from Xbox. And then Xbox One, I mean, there was a few titles here and there, but overall, I think PlayStation as a brand, they dominated. I mean, ever since the PS1, all the way up to where we at right now with the PlayStation 5. I mean, it's just mind boggling. So this other question I have for you is with the DualSense. Yeah. And we'll get back into the hardware stuff in a little bit, but with the DualSense controller, I know you touched it, you hold it in your hands. What would you say, like, compared to the DualShock 4 controller? Is it like leaps and bounds ahead as far as immersion? How does it feel like when you're playing the game, or anything you could share on that front?
DualSense is strictly under NDA, unfortunately. That's something that they've literally said. It's like, no,
I totally understand.
That under wrap. But what we can say is, and we can talk about the aesthetic of it. What we can say is, from the released, kind of prototypes that they have sent out and it's been publicly announced, it's pretty clear to tell that it's being optimized for a better play experience in a whole. And that's, and by the looks of it, it definitely, will hold true to that. And that's definitely, and that's really all I can say on that one.
I totally understand. I totally understand. So there is this other question I have as far as the actual system itself. Now, okay, we talked about the SSD. So is there, because of how powerful the PS5 is over the PS4, like we're hearing stuff about ray tracing. We're hearing stuff about just obviously the SSD and how much more assets developers can actually get into the game because of that. Is there anything that you could share with us when it actually comes to that front with the PS5?
Yeah, so for example, I've heard a lot about the ray tracing myself, and it kind of frustrates me a little bit, because if ray tracing isn't that big of a deal. It's been around for 10, 15 years. I don't see what the sudden kind of interest is with it. Listen, if you're developing a really, really photorealistic style game, ray tracing is going to help you. It's going to be really, really, it's going to really. So it's just going to, so all ray tracing does, for anyone that doesn't know, is it just enables better lighting calculations and more realistic lighting calculations within the scene, better specular reflections. So it essentially just makes everything look more real. It allows, the lighting and the shadows and everything to fall as they would in real life. And that's all set up through PBR materials, which are physically based kind of rendering materials. So it just enables better, more realistic graphics, and for games that are doing that, like for example, Ghosts of Tsushima, if that with that next generation of hardware, they could have done something even better. Like it all looked more better fidelity, better kind of on every front. Now, does that affect the every run of the mill developer? Not really. Would we use it in our titles? No, it's a waste of. For what we aim for in the style, so we go for a very cartoon style, so kind of stylized. It's not really that useful, and you're just kind of spinning your wheels with it. And here's the thing, right? Over the years, because developers haven't been able to do stuff like ray tracing, we've came up with workarounds, ways around it, ways of faking it. There's hundreds of different techniques for faking stuff like that, and and from talking with a few studio heads, I know that some of them aren't even switching because they've gotten so good at the other ways of doing things. So they haven't bothered to, kind of really dive in yet to the new way of doing things. But what I can say, and the biggest area that I'm impressed with the public, announcement of the PS5 specs, is the CPU. It's such it's such a big upgrade, and the new audio systems that are in it as well. And that's a thing people don't really pay attention to, and I don't really get it. Audio is 50% of your experience.
Yes,
so to have a massive upgrade in that is massive in all aspects. But the CPU, personally, for me, my favorite two aspects of it are the SSD and the CPU. And the RAM. Like you can't forget about the RAM.
RAM is very important.
Double, like 16 gig. That's that's pretty nice rather than the L8. And that's just going to enable as well more things on screen at one time without getting too limited. It's just going to enable better textures, more textures. So what actually I think people are going to start doing is, so if you know much about 3D modeling, or anyone that does know anything about 3D modeling, usually you would have hundreds of layers to your shaders. So there'd be hundreds of different elements going into it. There can be multiple layers, different textures going on beneath it. Generally, within game development, you wouldn't really set that up because it's just processor intensive. To have all them textures loading in. But now with all this upgrade across the board, we're going to be able to do that. So we're going to start seeing more nuances within materials. So think if you look at a piece of concrete, that concrete has little holes, little divots. Little divots have dirt in them. How does that dirt reflect the light into the rest of the scene? Will that dirt hold, water better than the concrete? Or will that kind of create little specular reflections? All of these things can now be worked in to the different shaders. And that's just going to enable developers to get more, kind of unique with their mechanics, because you can play with that. Think of this, for example. Let's just frame it like this. Imagine you have a fully barren, abandoned world, and in this world there's these veins, these kind of glowing kind of veins throughout the world, divots in the ground, so kind of like cracks. What if you had a shader now where it essentially changes that from say a water in the cracks to lava instantly? Wow. Or what if it changes it to ice? What if that freezes over? You know what I mean? It can change things. And being able to do that, and through tessellation, that's a big thing. And actually, that was one of the things that they pioneered in the Battlefront games, Star Wars Battlefront games, was that you step on the ground in the game, it makes a hole. It makes a hole in the ground. It forms around the foot. And then, if the game rains, that hole will fill up. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. And just think of the different things that developers could get creative with. For example, if I was playing a shooter and I threw a grenade, could I create a hole in the ground? And maybe that hole in the ground then could, fill up with water, or maybe different things could happen, or the environments could change on the fly. We can have dynamic weather systems. That's one thing that's underdone in a lot of games, is weather. If you think of the chaos and the kind of the different play styles that can be kind of implemented with different dynamic weather, it's amazing. Imagine if you're in a scene that's a desert one moment and then it's a monsoon the next. Imagine different items just kind of sprouting up out of the ground, and the amount of things you could do is crazy. And we're playing with all this in house, and we're kind of we're pushing all this technology. We're trying to find out what is really possible, and what's fun to the player. But that's what I see being the big takeaway from the from the jump to the next generation of hardware is, developers now have the key to Pandora's box. They can do what they really want to do. Because as developers, we're always getting held back. That's one of the things people... I know when a game comes out and, it's... people maybe don't like it as much. And they're the developers had no soul. They didn't care. I can tell you right now, there's not one developer in the world that makes a game out to be bad. It's always, it's always either corporate decisions, budget. Listen, gaming industry is a business, and if you're not making money, you're not feeding your family, and that's the thing that people don't realize. So a lot of harsh decisions get made in the studio, even internally. There has been tear shed over certain, mechanics that just couldn't make it into the game. And sometimes people spend months of work on things, and then it's just listen, it's gone. and then it's just, it can be a hard pill to swallow. But I don't see that being as much of an issue with the next generation of hardware. And I think players have a lot to be excited for. Yes. And, what I would like to see a big kind of push into now is virtual reality. That is a big That's a big thing that I would potentially like to get into a little more. We've never done it because the hardware just hasn't been there. But with this new, with the next generation of hardware over the next 4 or 5 years, you know, I don't see any problems with there really starting to be nice jumps into kind of virtual reality and maybe even, you know, like augmented reality within games. Like we've seen games like Pokemon kind of delve into it a little bit. But you know, what's to stop? What's over the next 5 to 10 years? What's to stop a developer making a game where it's, you know, where they're selling suites, where it's fully immersive environments, where maybe like, you know, on the high end, you can get these places where you've got like treadmills set up and you're going on the treadmill, you're doing the actual thing. Like, you know, I know there's been some people playing around with stuff like smell-o-vision. I don't know if you've ever heard of that, but so it's like, you know, like giving you different smells of different environments.
Oh, yeah. I heard about that. Yes.
Yeah, there has been certain, like, especially in the PC market, there's people playing around with that. But over the next 5 to 10 years, there's going to be a massive leap. And I'm just excited to be part of the riot. Like, you know, but it's definitely, it's a tough time for developers because obviously the players love next generation of hardware. They love it. It's like, yes, new games, new technology. It's going to be great for us. But for developers, it's like, oh no, we have to relearn everything we've known for the last 5-10 years. And it's a big jump. So for people like us at Stratton Studios, like we're a very young team. We're like, yes, come on, bring it on. Yeah, let's go. Whereas I know a lot of the bigger studios, the AAA studios, you know, there's a lot of groans. They're kind of like, oh, we have to put in all this work. Because, you know, after 30 years in the industry, you know, you're going to get that fatigue. You know, if you've been doing something the same way for 10 years, it's, you know, to change that, it's a big thing. And you have to change a lot of company processes. So it's definitely, it's an exciting time as a whole. And I think the biggest thing that I've noted from it all is that players are going to be the ones coming out on the better side.
On top. Yes.
Yeah, they really are. And that's the main thing. And that's the thing that I love to see. It really is.
Wow, that is amazing to hear that. Also, could you speak on this DLSS when it comes to PlayStation or anything that you can share about the PS5, or not just the PS5, but just anything to do with DLSS? Are you guys going to use that technology with your games, or can you speak on that?
DLSS is a tricky one. It's very tricky. We haven't played around with it yet. We haven't. For me, it's a little too kind of, I suppose, young in the aspect of I want to see what other people are doing with it first. We like to, you know, stick with the tried and true technology. We don't like spending 6 months, you know, working on something and then to find out there's a core flaw with it. That's a big thing for us. So what I like to do, and my studio's philosophy is, right, let the AAA lads spend all the hundreds of thousands on R&D and figure all that stuff out. And then once they've implemented it and I see it working well, I'm going to start, you know, jumping into it. But here's the thing, right? And here's something that we actually use internally. Now, most people wouldn't know about this. We've been using something called Iskren AI for a long time. Now,
wait a minute. Okay.
Yeah. So what Iskren AI is essentially, it's an upscaling technology. And it's essentially, you can take extremely low resolution kind of textures and you can blow them up. And they look really good. Like you can take a pixel texture, like a pixelized texture, and you can make it look, you know, like it was made hyper realistic. Straight out of the gate, just through upscaling. So we've implemented some of that type of stuff in our games. So for example, you know, we can have nice things. And here's actually something that we've done in the past for grass in games. And people might be like, oh, grass.
Yeah, grass.
What are you doing with grass? But it's actually something quite tricky that not a lot of people know about. So when you're attaching grass to a terrain, right?
Yeah.
You have to color the grass, right? So how are you going to actually color that grass at runtime? Because if we're dynamically changing our terrain, so say if we change a terrain from, say, grass to snow at runtime, we can't color the grass to have the green color and the white color at the same time. It just, you know, it wouldn't work. It'd look weird because it'd have snow on it when there'd be no snow on the ground. So what we actually do is at runtime, we will take a picture of our terrain as it's changing at a very low resolution, and then we'll blow it up using this type of technology, and then we'll color the grass based upon it. So then that enables us to give a dynamic change to grass color. And that I imagine a lot of other studios are doing similar things. I know some of them do stuff like pigment maps. But, and why would you do that? Why would you color your grass dynamically? Because if you don't color your grass to suit your terrain, what can actually happen, and you see it in a lot of bad indie games, if you ever look at them, you can tell right away if you can see the grass model sitting on the terrain, so it doesn't look like they're actually connected. You know, the ones where you can kind of just like, it just look like they're sitting on top. Like that. Yeah, that's because they're not colored correctly. They're not color matched to suit the terrain. So when you actually color match them correctly, it looks like it's one image. It looks like it's one kind of one object. So that's like, you know, a kind of technique that we implement. And obviously DLSS is, you know, doing certain other things with regards to kind of machine learning, but it's all in the same vein. Like machine learning really will come over the next 5 to 10 years. It's tough to implement now, and the reason being is because, like, if anyone's ever trained a machine learning model, it takes ages. It can take, like, you know, I think we ran a test once. We were doing some deep fakes in house, and, you know, it ran, I think we ran for 3 months, and the result wasn't even that good. You know, we just had a machine sitting in the corner running it. But it's just, it's a little undercooked for me right now. We've used some tried and true models that have been used throughout other games, so we stick to that side of things, and we kind of let the big boys kind of, you know, spend all the money and make all the mistakes, and then we kind of ride it in when it's all nice and polished and it's easy to implement. So that's with regards to DLSS. You know, it's we haven't really dived into it. I've heard some of the bigs. We haven't, you know, obviously and it's a thing about Sony developers right now. Everyone's under wraps. Everyone. So even the devs aren't talking between each other. Like devs aren't talking because, and like, you know, usually with the PlayStation community, like we'd all, you know, there'd be like a group type of thing. And everyone would chat. But now it's kind of like, no one's chatting. No one's
talking.
Because no one knows who's signed up, who's on board. You know, no one really knows who signed the same type of, you know, deals or whatever. So, you know, no one's chatting. No one knows what anyone's doing. So it's very closed off at the moment. I'm hoping once it does launch that it's going to open back up. And it's going to be, you know, that community vibe again. But until then, everyone's under wraps and everyone's just kind of doing their own thing, figuring themselves out. And that's one of the reasons why as well. I think there does be growing pains at launch, is because people can't share the mistakes that they've kind of made, and they can't kind of talk between each other type of thing. But so it should be interesting. Any new technology they implement, I'll happily take a look at, and I'll happily, you know, if it works, I'll use it, and it should definitely be interesting. So but looks of it, it looks great.
It looks great. Now, could you elaborate on the smart shift? Like for the PS5, the smart shift technology that's in the PS5 and the variable speeds, and as far as all of that stuff goes, and how will it actually help with game development, especially with the smart shift technology for the PS5?
Yeah, so smart shift is something because smart shift is a patented technology. It's one of them things that Sony are very strict on NDA wise. What I can say about it is that they haven't done it for no reason. It has been done to improve performance, and and not to say anything about it, but in general, Sony implement mechanics or technologies without them working? No. Every time it works. So there's a reason that's there, and you know that will they haven't spent millions on research and development for no reason. And, you know, everything else regarding, you know, Smart Shift is under NDA currently, and just because it's so new.
Still a new technology, right?
Yeah, I don't even know if they've, like, you know, they mightn't even have the patents for it yet. They probably do. They wouldn't even have launched. We don't even, like, they don't. It's very lock and key with regards to Smart Shift. But what I can say is, from past record of Sony, they've never implemented a mechanic that has, you know, not worked. So it's there for a reason. And it's, you know, and as well, coming out of AMD, you know, AMD are passing out Intel quick. Like, you know, it's like, even in-house internally, like, we use Intel, you know, Intel's been our kind of go-to workhorse for our workstations. We're thinking of switching to AMD now. Like, you know, it's just getting better. You know, Intel are kind of seem to be dragging their heels a little bit. So so coming out of AMD, and listen, you know, it's similar to the way Vulkan was back in the day.
Vulkan, yep. I remember, like, Vulkan.
You know, like that done some awesome stuff, and I know for the PC world that's still a big thing. So it's, you know, they haven't put a foot wrong yet. So I'm still very hopeful for it, and I think it's going to be good. I've seen a lot of rumors about it. You know, people. I don't know where people get these rumors from. I think some people just sit in their, like, you know, office, and they're like, right, let's see, what can I think up about the new technology. I don't know why people just don't just, like, listen to what the devs are actually pushing out. Listen to Sony and say, right, okay, let's just give them 6 months. Let's just see if it actually works. If it works, amazing. If not, well, then we can make all these little rumors. But, you know, I think it's just something to talk about, to be honest. You know, but all the technology is solid. Definitely solid.
I have another question here for you. Now, what about the RDNA 2 geometry engine and VRS when it comes to the PS5? Is there anything you could share about the RDNA 2 technology and VRS? Anything on that?
No, that most of the engine-based stuff and kind of the internal technology, that is very, very strict under NDA. Only the public information that they've kind of, the very little that they've given out. But even that, you know, it's going to, you know, I'm not going to insult your intelligence by rereading you that. But what I can say is that, you know, it's same as the previous point. It's new tech out there, new ways of doing things, and, you know, the more innovation that's going on, the better for the kind of next generation hardware. But see, here's an interesting thing that I don't see why people get hung up. People seem to get hung up a lot on the different type of kind of exact tech that's in a new piece of hardware. Yeah. But they're not concerned about how does that actually affect their experience. Yeah. Like, how does that actually, why does that matter to me? Like, you know, it's same with phones. Like, people are like, oh, I've got this new processor, this, and this. It's like, okay, well, how well can that? Because it's not the technology that makes the games good. It's the developers that utilize it. Like, I can tell you right now, if you've got a AAA studio on a PS3, they will probably make a game better than an indie developer on a PS5. And that's and that it's the scale. You know, you can give if you were to give, like, you know, a non-artist a paintbrush and an easel and say, there you go, like, you know, they're not going to do good. You know, it's about the developer. It's about the team behind it. And, you know, the new technology is cool. It's great. But, you know, as soon as the thing comes out, I can guarantee no one's ever going to mention it again until the next generation of hardware comes out. So,
and one of the things that a lot of people have been running with, please, I want you to clear this up because I know they're listening, is this whole idea behind T-flops. And it's just like T-flops, people didn't care about T-flops until we got to Series X and PS5. And so they think that, you know, the T-flops and everything has something to do with the games, and it's going to look lightning years better on the Series X than the PS5, because we know that the PS5 is at 10.28, I think.
Yeah,
and then the
10.28.
Series X is at 12.1 or something, and it can unlock even more. So please, could you elaborate on this whole T-flop situation, that it does not really matter to that extent when it comes to the games?
T-flops do not matter.
Wow.
Very simply. Okay, it's just like saying, right, that's and it gives it gives me, like, when I see these comments, I'm just like, I wish I could just tell you. But it's like, right, so essentially it's a metric of measurement, a certain speed of the hardware. That's all it is. Yes. But what players need to realize is, it takes the whole system to make a game. You could have a GPU that is the fastest GPU ever made, and you could have a poor CPU, and then you're bottleneck. You're only as good as your weakest component. Only as good as the weakest component. It's not about one component outshining another. It's the weakest. If it's not, like, and we're talking like, what, a matter of 2 teraflops. Like, Jesus Christ.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Like, we're not, like, you know, we're splitting hairs over this. Like, you know, it's not a big deal. If a player out there is like basing their decision off whether they should get a new PS5 or like, you know, a new Xbox, I would say, listen, you need to reevaluate the way you're guessing this, because look at the games that are going to come out. If you like the games that are coming out on Sony, go with Sony. If you're looking at and if you like the way developers are treated, go with Sony. And if you like, you know, Microsoft, go with Microsoft. There's, like, you know, listen, that's just the way it is. Don't be worrying about teraflops. That's for the developers to worry about.
Exactly.
And even then, like, listen, in a meeting, in a production meeting, we have never ever discussed teraflops. How many teraflops are we going to get in here? No, it's not.
Oh my God.
Never. It's never even been mentioned. Never.
Oh
like,
my God.
The only metrics we're really concerned about in-house are, like, you know, the CPU speed, read and write speed, you know. Yeah, we're only worried about the core metrics, the 4 numbers you really need to know. Like, you know, and listen, back before I became a dev, I used to do that as well. I used to, you know, compare numbers and all this, and no, it was the wrong way to do it. It's all about the content that's going to be there, because, you know, you can have the best console in the world, and if it's only got Duck Hunt on it, you know, it's not going to be a fun experience either way. Like, so, you know, it's definitely something people need to stop worrying so much about. It's all about the content, not the hardware.
Yes. I've always been saying this. I know you have been seeing the channel, but this is something I preach on my daily show every single day. I said, you guys are worried about the wrong thing, right? Yeah. You need to worry about the games. That's what you guys are going to be playing. You're not going to be playing T-flops, right? Yeah. Because here's the thing, and this is why, for people who have been on the fence, I said, look at what Sony has been giving you. Look at the track record. Go as far back as PS1 all the way up until now. Look at the quality of games compared to what Microsoft is giving you. It's easy, but some people are just like, I'm not going to buy the PS5 because it's weak, you know. And then there was this ridiculous rumor that was saying that the PS5 is going to overheat, and the coolant and all of this crazy stuff. And I'm just like, where's you guys getting all of this stuff from? The point of the matter is this: if you want to buy a system because of set games, and there's this whole notion of exclusives don't matter and exclusive is not going to help. And the fact that Sony went the route where they're like, hey, anything that's developed for PS5 is going to be strictly for PS5, not for PlayStation 4. They will still continue to support PS4, but these new games like Spider-Man Miles Morales, even though from what I heard, I want you to elaborate on that in a little bit too, but Spider-Man Miles Morales being a PS4 engine-based game, and then they sort of like redid the assets and everything like that. And Horizon Forbidden West, that game looks phenomenal, considering from everything that we've seen from that trailer. I heard some of the stuff that we've seen in the trailer is like in-game, which is insane. So it's just, and this is what I've been telling people. Look, and Microsoft has not showed us anything running on the Series X. because everything that we have seen so far has been running on the PC. And that's what I've been telling everybody is like, Sony is the first to actually show you true representation of what you're going to be getting when you buy this console. Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, prime example. Now, this one is kind of a little random, but I just wanted to ask you your opinion based off of you looking at, say, a game like Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, how well that is, and how, you know, Ratchet and Clank just jumping into dimensions like in real time. Do you think that would be possible on the Series X? I mean, with the SSD difference there, or they would have to really scale it back and kind of, you know, try to get it to like work on the system. But do you think certain things that are done on PS5 can be done on Series X?
Yes, I do think it can be. An SSD is a big step up in any aspect. Like, and here's the thing, right? And here's a technique that they use in game development, and you could easily cheat that effect, right? There's something called billboarding. So essentially what that means is dynamically based on the distance an object is to the camera, it will change to just an image, a flat image of the object. So you could just billboard it, and then you could just jump into the world and you wouldn't have to load that much if that was an issue. But I don't foresee that being an issue at all with the specs that have been leaked about the new Xbox. Yeah, I don't see it being an issue. I think people, you know, it's just one of those things, like, you know, people like to, you know, say, oh, it can't be done on that, or it can be done on that. If like, you know, if Insomniac got their hands on it and they wanted to do it, I'm confident they'd do it. You know, you know, I'm not really, it doesn't, I don't foresee that being an issue.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, to be honest with you, I feel like what Sony is doing with the PS5 when it comes to the design of the system, the UI. Now, that's something from what I've seen publicly. Like, could you share anything regarding the UI? Because from what I've heard is like the UI is completely different, and they're doing some really cool things, like as far as like you don't have to purchase the game right away. Like you can actually play the game. You can actually like download certain portions of the game. And oh my God, I just...
that side of stuff is going to be heavily upon developers, I imagine. And the reason I say that is if a dev doesn't want to give you a part of their game, they're not going to give it. You know what I mean? Like, it's going to be developer related, like, because at the end of the day, it's a developer's IP that they're putting out. It's a developer's piece of content. If they want to release a demo, I think demos are great. You know, if players give your game a shot, if players don't like it, but, you know, some devs don't like doing that. I understand. You've worked a lot on your game. You don't want people to get it for free, whatever. That's fair enough. But yeah, you know, they may do it. Regards to the UI, that's all under NDA. But what I can say from past experiences is that they generally do switch it up. They generally do switch it up. Like if we look at PlayStation 2 to PlayStation 3, you know, we can just, you know, that kind of speaks for itself. But what I can say is that Sony have an amazing team of UX designers, a really amazing team of UX designers. That's all they've studied for their whole life, is to get good at making UIs that are fun for the player to navigate and easy to navigate. And they have them people in-house. And, you know, if you spent your whole life doing that, you're going to be good at it. So, you know, I wouldn't be too concerned about how it looks. And the great thing about PlayStation always is that they do have all these teams and stuff that people can submit. Like, so, you know, you could probably customize it anyway. Like, you know, you know, my mind gets blown at how people are so concerned with such small things related to, you know, next generation of hardware, because as soon as it comes out, no one's going to care.
No, of course not. Of course not. You know, it's very, very interesting, you know, to see how people just focus on T-flops. Now, as far as like the file sizes, like especially with the new game that you're developing and everything, and just because from what we have learned, it's only going to be like 865 or 825 or something like that. So can you speak on like the file sizes per se from you, or just what you think for like PlayStation 5 and like sort of that expandable type of memory, like, because I know that we're going to have to get additional SSDs. So is there anything you could speak on that?
I would just say that I would be expecting file sizes to, it's unfortunate to say, but I'm going to say they're going to become an issue with every console. And here's the thing. Next generation of hardware, right? Developers are going to be using more textures, higher data speeds. They're going to be using, you know, bigger resolution textures. They're going to be using more shaders, better, you know, more materials, bigger levels. You know, like look at some games already on the PlayStation 4. Like there's some that top 100 gig, I believe, like in total. And you know, we're talking 7 of them on an SSD. You're going to blow it out. But if you look at like a PC, if anyone's had ever done any work on a PC, and you've got your main operating system on an SSD, you know how quickly that fills up just by daily use. You know, data is just that type of thing. But here's the thing, right? And here's the reason I wouldn't be too worried about it. There will be options to obviously expand, so that's always good, right? You can buy, obviously, you know, it's a big thing to be buying loads of SSDs. They aren't cheap, you know, so it's not something that people want to be doing, you know, if you're already forking out that amount of money. But infrastructure globally within the world has gotten pretty good. It's getting better. So download speeds aren't that bad anymore. Like, think of it this way, right? If you're smart about how you play your games, right, and you're like, okay, I'm playing this game right now, I'm playing, say you can fit 10 games on it, right, 10 AAA titles that are 100 gig plus, just say that's what you're on it, right? If you're finished with one of them, delete it and start downloading what the next game you want to play next. You know what I mean? Just be smart about it. And like, you know, your data's not going to get like erased or anything. Like, you know, it's going to be stored in the cloud. So, you know, I wouldn't be too like, I don't see why people hoard their games on their console anyway. Like, you know, kind of like delete it. Like there's something called online storage. Just kind of use that, and you know, don't worry about it. It'll be fine. And that's a big thing. Like, but like if we look historically at the first issues with any new console launch, after a year, what was the biggest issue? File sizes. Everyone was complaining. Everyone was struggling, and I can't imagine, because as devs are getting, you know, as devs are expanding, they're going to be doing more. They're going to be pushing harder. Now, saying that, you could probably fit 100 indie games, because I can't see indie games blowing out. Like, for example, our last one was, say, 3 gigabytes. Our newest one, Costume King, 3 gigabytes, right? The next title, I'd say, probably, I don't know, max 10 gigabytes. Like, you know, you can fit 80 of them on it. You know, go wild. Like. pretty much. Yeah, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. It is a concern, and it's definitely a concern for people's wallets. You know, that's a big thing for me, is you want to make everything as accessible as possible. You don't just want to kind of hierarch it into one people who can afford it. You know, and it's not cheap, and SSDs are not cheap. But the option is there to delete, and that's the thing. Like, if you want more than 10 games, 10 AAA titles on your console at once, you know, well, then you're probably going to have to, you know,
you're probably going to have to do something, right?
Or get discs or something, you know. It's always an option.
Now, I know, man, everything is just like uncharted territories, but I'm going to pick your brain a little bit on this. Like, so as far as the PS5, like, have you seen it? Like, have you like looked at it and was like, wow, okay. Like, just like first impression, like, have you seen it yet? Like a full retail unit, or you just have like the dev kit right now? But when you first received it, like, what was going through your mind? Like, just like, oh my God, like freedom, like.
Yeah, with regards to locations, or if we actually have one internally, that is something that's strictly under NDA, that no one's allowed to disclose. No studio is even allowed to say if they've seen it at all. But you know, they're it's very, very strict, extremely strict on who's seen it, who's kind of, you know, if you're allowed to say you've seen it, you know, the kind of the security type of things that have to be in place if someone was to have one, you know. So yeah, we have. I can't say if we've seen it or haven't seen it, but what I can say is that the public screenshots that they have, and the images that have been kind of released of it, look amazing. And if you know, I can imagine that when I first see it, and that my first impression, upon seeing a PlayStation 5, I would be in awe, and I would be felt very kind of, you know, relieved to see it in the flesh. So, you know, it's definitely was a powerful moment, I suppose, would be the thing. But I can't confirm or deny if we have one or not. No dev can. Like, you know, I don't even think they've released publicly how many there actually is in the world right now. Like how many they've created. So, like, across, like, obviously we all know that, like, you know, some certain studios have them, the ones that have announced that the games are going to be on PlayStation 5 publicly, and obviously we know they have them, but I don't even think like they've announced numbers on how many they have or anything like that. It's so strict, because if you and listen, it has to be that way, because if you think about it, right, if this is a project Sony's been working on for years, right, and imagine Microsoft got their hands on one. Like, imagine how much, like, imagine, like, that'd be like someone getting their hands on our game and selling it before we released it, like, you know, be soul destroying. So I fully appreciate and respect Sony's, you know, wishes with regards to confidentiality, with regards to the PlayStation, what it looks like, everything like that. But what I can say is that the publicly released information looks amazing, and it's, you know, and if you like that look at all, it's, you know, it's definitely on point with it. So it's going to be good.
Oh my God. That's great. Now, when it comes to launch, right? We got the Series X, we got the PS5. All right. Now, man, this is, again, uncharted territory, but maybe you have a little bit of guidance on this. Like, okay, what can you tell the fans? I know you kind of elaborated on that before, but as far as the games that are coming, like, what can you possibly say? And with your experience with Microsoft, like, what could you possibly say, like, maybe in another, like, 2 or 3 years down the line, like, how do you see the market, like, shifting with the launch of the PS5, with the games that's going to be available for both systems and everything? Like, any thoughts on that?
First out of the gate, we know the backwards compatibility. Sony have announced kind of, you know, they haven't announced what's been, they've just said a lot of the titles are going to be backward compatible. And from, you know, the press release, that obviously they were very vague when they said that, so I'm going to keep it vague, but I wouldn't worry too much about, you know, your games not being able to play them type of thing. You know, if it was, it's the type of thing where it's like, if there was any type of decent, like, if it was some game where like one person downloaded, well then maybe I'd be shaking in my boots. But you know, if it's most of the titles they've announced, and same with Xbox, I believe. I haven't really dived too much in. We don't really stay in too much touch with Microsoft nowadays, but yeah, as far as I'm aware, it's similar type of thing. Like, backwards compatibility is a big thing, you know, because if you think about it, right, you spent your hard-earned money on a title, you deserve to be able to play that on the next generation of hardware.
That is true. That is
true.
And
that's a big thing. And here's another thing that people don't think about. It's going to enable games to be played faster. Like, if you think about it, like, it's like going from, like, making PS2 games backward compatibility onto the, like, a new console or whatever, or you know, or the old Xbox games onto the newer console. It's the same thing. Like, you know, they're going to run better. It's going to, you know, be all just a better experience as a whole. But with regards to launch titles and how that's all going to work out, I foresee Sony becoming I see Sony staying as the industry leader for the next few years. Microsoft, just with the exclusives, like, they have, like, you know, they've such great talent that's just, like, you know, not there on the Microsoft side. Microsoft have some great studios. Obviously, there's a new Fable thing that's, you know, which I'm a big fan of Fable. I really do. I love it. It's, you know, it was one of the series I played growing up, and it's something I continue to love. But you know, it's it's Sony just always have knocked it out with quality content every year. Like if you maybe once a year you'll be disappointed that there was a game on Xbox that you wanted.
Yeah.
Right, maybe. Maybe, right? The max. Whereas Sony, like nearly every second week, you're like, oh, I wish I had a PlayStation.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. Like, so you know, if someone was just looking at, if someone asked me and they were like, right, Josh, what should I go with if I just want the best play experience? I'd say pre-order a PlayStation 5 as soon as possible. Wow. That's literally it. That's what I'd say. Just pre-order it. And that's the thing, because I can guarantee you this, right? And this is from a dev's perspective. You will regret your decision if you order an Xbox, because the quality of content is not going to be there. We're talking like, listen, right? And this is, I know I'm going in a little deep on Microsoft.
Yes, please, go.
You know, I love Sony. It's the thing about it is, right? And this comes back to how Sony treat their developers.
Yes.
The company that treats their developers better is always going to have better content. Because look, for example, look at me. I'm a diehard Sony fan. I'll die at the blade for Sony. You know what I mean? So, and to have a company that does that and to have all your developers doing that, that's powerful. Whereas if someone, you know, when I was type of thing, like, you know, if someone's not treating me, if I don't feel that kind of mutual respect with a company, then it's, you know, if I feel like I'm being treated badly, then I'm just going to be not as enthusiastic to make games. It's just going to be contract fulfilling. So I would say that the biggest thing is quality of content on the next generation of Sony hardware is going to be truly amazing. Look at the studios that are with Sony and, you know, look at the quality they're pushing and just imagine what they're going to be working on next.
Oh my God.
You know, just look at the variety. Insane. Like I can't even see why people would raise the question or even get it into their heads. Because look at the exclusives that have been on PlayStation. Like, line them up with Xbox and it's just like,
it's night and day. It's night and day.
You know, so I wouldn't be concerned about that at all. I would say just, you know, stick with Sony. You can't go too wrong. And if there ever is any issues, they're going to sort them quickly, very quickly. And that's the biggest thing. Like, all right, here's the thing as well, right? And, you know, remember last generation, what happened last generation? If you remember the DRM situation that Microsoft was pulling out, right? That showed true intentions of where they were going with things, right? And then that took Sony to be like, nah, we're not doing that. For Microsoft to backstep. So even that shows the level of commitment, you know, kind of Sony has. And here's another thing. Look at the culture of where the companies are, the headquarters are, right? Sony are an Asian company primarily. Like, obviously they've American offices, but you know, the culture over there is much more kind of, it's very family orientated. It's very based on, you know, kind of a decent customer experience, quality customer experience, you know. So it's even a culturally ingrained for them to provide a good experience. And, you know, that's a big thing. Like, it's all about respect with Sony. It's all about, like, you know, holding fast to what they've asked and, you know, being mutually good to them, and they'll be mutually good back. And that's, you know, one of the biggest things about them. So I would definitely say Sony is the way to go. If you're on the fence, you shouldn't be. You should be leaning towards the PlayStation side. And that's just not even, like, nothing to do with our titles. That's to do with all the AAA titles that are going to be on it. Because they're going to be the one. They're going to be the trendsetters. Because obviously, like, you know, there's no two ways about it. You know, not everyone plays indie games. Not everyone plays the smaller games. A lot of people wait until the studios get to an A or AAA level before they hop on to the titles. So... you know, look at the big guys. Look at what they're doing and look at with their plan next. Like, even look at the studio employee numbers for the guys that work on PlayStation games. They're massive. Absolutely massive. Like, you've got some studios with 600 plus people. Like, and, you know, it's crazy. So, I wouldn't be concerned about it. If someone is, you know, If you want to listen to a developer, pre-order your PlayStation 5 and you'll be grand.
Oh my God. Now, it's funny how you talk about pre-orders. So I know uncharted territories again, but what can you say? Because right now, I think the wheel has shifted a little bit for Xbox fans based on what we saw from the last Xbox showcase. So what can you say about pre-orders right now? Because we know that Sony actually doubled up on production. I think they're at what, 10 million or something, and it's actually a lot higher than what they did with PS4. So can you share anything about pre-orders? And I mean, I'm pretty sure it's going to be sold out, but can you share anything at all, like about pre-orders at all?
This is what I would say with regards to, obviously, you know, it's under NDA with regards to all the dates and everything like that. But what I will say is, I imagine that, you know, Sony are pumping. They're pumping hard to get as many made because they know it's going to be a hit. What you can do right now, and this is important, there's a lot of retailers that are taking pre-order list type of thing. Like they're taking like mailing lists and stuff to be notified as soon as it's ready. If you're on the fence and if you have the money lying around, get on them lists straight away. That is what you can do. Because listen, COVID-19 was a serious thing. It still is a serious thing. Yes. That hit a lot of companies hard, especially factories. Like production factories. Like if you think about it, right, and here's one of the things, right, a lot of people don't know this, but you know, a lot of the chipsets and stuff, they're all like, you know, they're probably all made in the same factory, like between Xbox and like, you know, Sony, like it's parts, it's computer hardware. Like that's realistically all it is. And a lot of them companies were closed for 3 to 4 months. So, you know, it's gonna, they haven't, like, you know, they don't give stock numbers to people, like, you know, that's something only they concerned about. That's their business things. But I would just say, if you're on the fence, don't be procrastinating. Get on them lists as soon as possible, and just be ready to bite when it goes kind of goes live with the pre-orders. And what I would say, and here's a great idea as well, and things I'm always pushing, if you have a local game store, like maybe like, you know, somewhere that has it, talk to them as well and see what they can do for you. Because, you know, obviously buying off, you know, all the big guys is great and everything, but you know, supporting your local businesses right now is more important than ever. So it's something to think about. And, you know, maybe there mightn't be as much of a, you know, kind of backlog with them guys. But there is a couple, as far as I'm aware, there is a couple places where you can actually reserve a PlayStation 5 right now. Like they're doing reserving the pre-orders type of thing. There's a couple of retailers doing it.
Really?
Yeah, as far as I'm aware, there is. Let me just check real quick. Yeah, I think there's somewhere in the Currys, I believe, in the UK. I think Amazon UK are doing it. Walmart, Amazon US, Best Buy, Target. All these guys seem to have kind of like the pre-order type of thing, and that'll reserve your spot. Yeah. So I'd hop on that. Like that's what I would do. And I think everyone will be surprised when it comes, like when the pre-orders go live, and you know, they'll be surprised, as in Sony will probably sell out much quicker than Xbox. That's just my predictions. I imagine it's just going to be like if you look at the player base that's on Xbox compared to Sony, Sony are, yeah, it's insane. It's absolutely insane. So I'd get on board if you're thinking about jumping on. Don't wait, and just be ready to go when it comes live, because you know you'll regret it otherwise. Like the worst thing we don't want is, you know, especially for you guys, is, you know, come Christmas and you still don't have one, and the new title launches and everyone's playing it, and you're like, I can't play it, and you know, then you're watching gameplay videos, and then it makes it even worse. So
that is true.
Don't get caught in that hype. Really don't. Just, you know, be ready and be ready to go with it, and you should be fine. Like, yeah, it's going to be definitely an interesting one, and it'll be interesting to see how the numbers actually go, because it's going to go one or two ways. It's either no one's going to buy it. You know, it's going to be like, it's not going to do very well because of coronavirus. Maybe people don't have money. or it's just going to skyrocket. So it'll be interesting to see. But I think it's going to be the latter, where it's just going to blow up straight away, and it's going to really prove that, you know, Sony are the king, and that's really the whole kind of point. I think really is that Sony have just been doing an overall better job in the last while.
That is true.
They have, like, in the console market, and to be honest with you, I like the way kind of Sony and Nintendo kind of coexist. I like their coexistence very well. Kind of, they have their own different markets. They don't really seem to jump into each other or topple over each other. It seems to be quite a respected coexistence, and I like that. Like, it'd be great if everyone could just get along and, you know, do all that, but obviously that's not the world we live in.
Yep, of course not. You know, you got the Xbox guys, you have the Nintendo guys, you have the PlayStation guys, so, you know, you just have that dynamicness there. Also, I wanted to say, because there's an analyst company that had reached out to me a while back, and it was kind of interesting because they did say that the PS5, like, sales wise, like, they're saying that it can top up to 170 million. So do you think that the PS5 will definitely outsell the PS2? Because I'm already getting a PS2 vibe from the PlayStation 5 itself. So do you think, like, as far as sales wise, do you think it's going to just outsell the PS2 based on the catalog of games that they're going to be offering?
I think it's going to sell like hotcakes. I really do. I think it's just gonna light up. It's going to be crazy. I imagine every server's going to crash. It's going to be a nightmare trying to pre-order or buy. I don't want to look at what the shops are going to be like on when it launches, like the midnight stuff. Well, actually, they might do that because of COVID, but you never know. And so it's, I don't know. It's going to be crazy. But from how hard I know Sony work and how hard I know Sony push, I don't see an issue why they can't. They don't do things to, you know, coexist with their previous accomplishments. They do things to topple them. So, you know, I imagine it's going to be sell well. And there's been a lot of positive hype around the PlayStation 5 as well. So, you know, the more positivity that can be spread about it, the better it's going to do. And that's exactly why, you know, the more devs that are kind of outspoken, I think, will help that as well. Because, you know, if people know the devs are happy, because devs do get a decent following eventually. Like, you know, when you get pretty big, you do have fairly cool following, and no matter what platform you go to, people will stick with you. So it's one of those things. But, you know, with the catalog that Sony has and they continue to collect, I believe that, you know, it's a no-brainer, and it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting to see how it sells. Definitely, I'll be looking out anyway. I'll be looking for statistics on it.
Oh, okay. All right, so I have another one for you, and I think this is interesting. I'm gonna pick your brain again on this one. So, as far as your game, right, Costume Kingdom. I'm going to touch on backwards compatibility because this is something huge with cross-generation games. We've seen a lot of companies right now, like 2K, for instance, they want to sit there and charge $10 for their next-gen upgrade. And we've seen a little bit of mixed bag stuff with Remedy. I know a lot of people saying they're being anti-consumer because you already bought Control already. Now you have to buy the game again for $40 in order to get that next generation upgrade. So as far as you as a developer and of course your studio, what can you say as far as this particular game that you're working on, Costume Kingdom? Will there be any sort of like cross generation thing for the PlayStation 5? And will it be like, you know, fully like upscale frame rate, all of that?
Yeah, so we're not allowed to officially announce whether the game's coming onto PlayStation 5 yet. So we're not allowed to say that. But I can say that if it was to come onto PlayStation 5, we didn't have any fees related to upgrading people. So, for example, if, you know, sometimes there's license fees that have to be paid. So, for example, you know, if we were to upgrade a person's account that owned the game on PlayStation 4, we might be charged for that. So, if we weren't charged for that, we would not charge anyone. We'd give them free upgrade. That would be a no-brainer for us. I don't think you should be charging if it's if you don't need to charge, don't. like, if it's a fee on the developer, well, then it's fair enough because the dev has to make money, you know. But I'd be transparent about that. I'd probably email everyone that bought the game and be like, listen, this is why. I'd explain it. That'd be very important for us. And with regards to, like, would the game run better on a new generation? I imagine it'd run much better. Like, you know, it's like, you know, it's like anything. It'd just run, like, you know, there'd be so much more horsepower behind it. So, yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be interesting, and I think there's a lot of devs are going to be making this decision as well because it's a quick opportunity to make a nice bit of money as well. That's the thing, like, and that's what a lot of devs are thinking. They're like, well, if this guy's already played the game, he's going to want to play it on the next gen. So, you know, it mightn't be that easy. If we put in a small fee, he might get on board with it. So, you know, there's that aspect to it. But personally, no, I think it's about being true to the players. And if I don't have to pay anything, you aren't going to have to pay anything either. Yeah, that's the way. Like, transparency is key, and especially as a growing developer, you know, you don't want to be doing anything like that. It's not a good idea. There is some studios that have announced they're doing it, and we've all seen what's happened to them for doing it. So no, thank you. I'd much prefer to be honest to the players, and you know, if it's not going to cost me anything, it's not going to cost you anything. So that's the mentality I take with it. So that's really yeah, that's what I think of that side of things. It should be interesting though, because I imagine a lot of studios are going to lose a lot of fans based on their decision regarding how they handle the kind of cross compatibility type side of things. Yeah. So it should be very interesting, and it'll be interesting to see how it unfolds and how quickly it unfolds as well, because you know, no timelines have been announced or anything yet. So how long is it going to take people to get these things across, or how long is it going to be? Is it going to be a year? Is it going to be 6 months? You know, is it going to be right away? You know, you never really know. So it's going to be an interesting one, definitely, and it's going to keep us all very entertained over the coming months to kind of see it unfold a little bit more.
Yeah, most definitely. And so have you met like Mark Cerny? Because I've met him before. He's, oh my God. And Jim Ryan, have you met any of those guys? Work with them or talk with them or anything?
We haven't. Personally, I haven't met much of the kind of the higher end Sony team as of yet. I've had mostly experiences with the team over in the UK, so I've had decent relationships with them. So I've had good collaboration with them. Most of the bigger guys, they're kind of, you know, they're very busy. They're extremely busy guys. They're extremely busy guys. They don't really have the time to be worrying about, you know, if I had to have a conversation with them, something would be probably wrong. So it's probably good that I don't have to have a chat with them. But I imagine in the future, as we grow, you know, collaboration with them is going to become a much more open thing. And you know, I'd say, because like this is our third professional title, and you know, kind of after 3 titles, you start to become kind of like a seasoned developer. You know, people start to realize, okay, these guys are, you know, they're not going out of business, they're still doing it. You know, they're starting to upgrade and get that really high polish level. So I imagine in the future there will be conversations between us, whether that be, you know, collaborations or whether that be acquisitions. You never really know what could happen in the future. You know, we're always open to anything, and we're always open to making just better games for the players. So whatever opportunities provide themselves, I'm always open ears, and that's the nice thing about it, the way it's set up right now.
Yeah, that's amazing. Look, I would love to have you on again on here. I mean, this was just amazing. And also with your game, you know, Costume Kingdom, I would love, you know, to maybe when you guys release it, you know, do some giveaways or something, or
100%.
You know,
we'll shoot over. I'll have a chat with you about it, but we'll shoot over a load of keys to send out to your fans, like to your watchers. You know, the more people that can give our game a go, the better. You know, and listen, you know, if you don't like it, this is one thing I say to everyone. If people don't like the game, anyone doesn't like it, drop me an email. Like, I'll more than happily give you my email. Drop me an email. Tell me what you don't like, and we'll collaborate on it together, and we'll make it. We'll fix it. And that's the thing, like, you know,
the beauty.
And that's the beauty of small developers. You know, and it's a funny thing, like, when we drop our trailers, you always get, like, you know, so much just, you know, nonsense, people, trolls. And when you actually, I reply to every comment, every single comment, good or bad, I reply to it. I make sure I reply to it. It's something I hold very dear to myself to do. And every time I reply as, like, you know, the owner of the company, people are just like, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to insult your work, type of thing. Because people have become so desensitized to that, you know, never actually having that connection with the owner of the company. And that's a big thing I think game companies don't do. I don't think the owner gets involved enough. Like, I think the owner of a title should be talking to, you know, influencers. They should be talking to people. They should be getting out there. Like, rather than sitting in your office all day doing business development, like, yeah, the business development's important, but at the end of the day, what is the core thing that makes a game studio run? It's the players. Like, it's the people that are going to buy the game. And, you know, without them, your company's nothing. And that's a big thing, I think. So I make it my you know, my mission. And that's why we reach out to everyone. Anyone that'll have a chat with us, we'll have a chat with them. And, you know, it's always a good time. So I don't see why more people don't do it. You know, yeah, so it's a nice one, definitely. Yeah.
They're telling me to tell you you're awesome, and I'm just happy, you know, that you are developing games, and you know you're working with Sony. You're going to be working on the PS5. I'm just excited to see what you guys are going to be cranking out, you know, over the next couple of years and everything. And also, my last question for you, I think this is a big one. Okay, you saw the Xbox as a developer. You saw the Xbox showcase, right? And how Microsoft and, of course, the fans was hyping up Halo Infinite to be this huge thing that is going to be running on this system with the 12 T-flops, like they say, and it's going to blow us all away. When you saw Halo Infinite, like as a developer, like when you saw the gameplay and everything, what was the pop-ins and everything, what was going through your mind? Because there were so many different things that has come out since we saw the game. Obviously, they were saying things like, oh, they had a better bill, and they had like 1,200 people working on this apparently, and a $500 million budget. So as a developer, like, just how did that actually make you feel to actually see how the game was actually running? And it wasn't even running on the Series X, but how did the game look to you? Like, what was your actual reaction before they actually delayed the game?
It conflicted me very much.
I
found it, in one aspect, I found it quite insulting. And what I found it quite insulting about was that they wasted that much money on a trailer that wasn't even the game. Jesus Christ, just actually dev the game, get it to a state. Players do not want to see the fantasy. They want to see what's real, what's in the title, and what is actually going to be running. Like, I don't see why and developers do this a lot, and like that's why I think it's very important. If it's like we did this with our announcement trailer, but it's important to make the distinction. If it's not gameplay, do not confuse it with gameplay. Make it so clear, like our announcement trailer, that it is not gameplay and it's just narrative. That is that's important. It's not, you know, don't confuse it. What they did there, I thought, was very snake oily. So it was like, it reminded me of a very snake oil salesman type thing, you know, kind of like all this, oh yeah, it's great. You know what it reminded me of? Watch Dogs. If you remember Watch Dogs, the demo they brought out, it reminded me very similar to Watch Dogs and how that went down. And it reminded me of Crackdown.
Crackdown, yep, I remember Crackdown.
If you remember that release, you know, so... But saying that, right, here's the thing. It's happened with Sony before. It's happened with Killzone. We have to be transparent with that. It did happen with Killzone. And I'm not sure if you're aware of the story behind that, but actually what often can happen is, as a developer, you can send this concept piece. This is what we're aiming for with the game to Sony or Microsoft, and then one of the marketing guys can get their hands on it and they can be like, oh, this is awesome, let's show this at E3, and then before you know it, it's out there and you're like, oh my god. as a developer, and I know some of the guys that actually worked on that piece. I know there was a lot of kind of shame in putting that out, and what I mean by shame is that we created something beautiful for a waste. Because the reason and I wouldn't blame them be ashamed, because they created something that this is the consensus that I got from speaking with a couple of guys, and I won't mention names because they might get in trouble, but essentially the consensus was, okay, we've just made something that could confuse the consumer.
Oh God.
And that's like, they felt like the consensus I got was there was a feeling of confusion, like, okay, are we doing this to show off what the game could be, or are we doing this to confuse people? Are we doing this as a marketing ploy? Is this the next marketing junket that we're just being a part of and we're being used for, type of thing? So that's what I got from it. And after seeing the budget that they spent on it, I was like, that's just a waste. Like, imagine if Microsoft had taken that money, invested it into the game, or invested it into some indie developers that are up and coming. Like, imagine, like, to an indie studio, like, most guys, like, literally they're running off, like, eating ramen noodles and living in, like, a one-bedroom, like, you know, apartment type thing. Like, they're struggling, and that type of money could transform the gaming industry as a whole. So I think they need to smarten up a little and realize what players actually want to see. Like, I've never heard a player saying, I want to see a high-end rendered cinematic of the game, but it's not actually the game. I just want to see, you know, the concept. I've never heard anyone, and I don't think that's going to sell any copies. They did it with Assassin's Creed Valhalla as well, with that kind of cinematic trailer.
Yep.
A lot of that was not gameplay. Like, they didn't make that. In the beginning, they made that, what was it? They named it, like, cinematic gameplay trailer.
It's not gameplay. It's cinematics. It's CGI, you know?
Yeah, like, this is a rendered piece as a concept type of thing, but the line needs to be very clearly defined. This is either cinematic and this is gameplay. And you'll see when our gameplay trailer drops that it's just gameplay. Just gameplay, pure gameplay, no nonsense, no kind of hiding behind, you know, nice CGI. It's literally, you know, title gameplay. Because there's nothing worse as a consumer. And, like, you know, with buying any product, if you buy it and then you're like, I didn't like this. Like, if someone sees my gameplay trailer and they're like, okay, I don't like that game. Thank God they seen the trailer. Because I don't want people playing my games if they don't like them. Like, I don't want people wasting money. Like, you know, I don't want your money if you don't want the game. Like, you know, it's very important. It's an important thing to distinguish. And I think that there's going to be, so the ESRB and the IARC, you know, and Peggy, I think there needs to be greater action taken by them guys to implement a descriptor for a trailer, because they review all the marketing material that goes out. I think they should have a descriptor that says, makes you say before if it, like, say for example, if the trailer contains less than 10% gameplay or something like that, I think it should have to have a descriptor saying cinematic trailer or gameplay trailer type of thing. It should have to list that mandatory, because otherwise people are going to be confused. And,
you're misleading.
You know, and listen, someone who's been duped into buying something is much more angry than someone who just doesn't like the game. And that's you know, that's definitely something you'd ever want to do as a dev. Because imagine, like, and look at the Metacritic scores, like, based on that, like, you know, they get tanked. They absolutely get like slaughtered. And, you know, So, like, if that was my company and I was like running that, I'd be like, right, okay, whoever done that needs to go. Whoever idea that was needs to just, you're not doing that anymore. You know, like, this is the way we're doing it, and this is kind of how clear we need to be with it.
Yes.
And it's very important to do that. And I think the more the industry kind of says no to that, and like, no, we're not doing that, lads, calm down there, you know, this isn't, you know, Paramount Pictures. We're not, you know, we're not we're not making CGI things here. It's the better. Now, obviously, on another aspect, you've got to, from a cinematic perspective, you've got to applaud them. It looked great. It did. It was a great trailer. But we're not here to talk about films. We're here to talk about games. And at the end of the day, that was a misrepresentation of what the actual gameplay is going to be. And, you know, with the delays, even with the delays, like, you know, you can only do that to players so often. You know, like, we've never delayed a game. I don't think we ever will, because I think that if we delay a game, it's because we've messed up royally. Like, it's a bad timeline. Like, you know, if we shove out a game, like our dev cycles are a year, we spend 1 year on every title, and that includes marketing, that includes everything. And that's the way I think it needs to be kind of pushed, because what happens is, if you spend more than a year on a title, you become complacent. You're not really pushed to get it out there. You're just really playing around with things, you know, nothing's really coming together. You know, you get stuck in development hell. And, you know, a lot of these studios, a lot of players aren't thinking about the people that are making them. A lot of these people that are making them are being worked to the bone on stuff that doesn't even make it into the game. Like, I'm not sure if you've heard of stress casualties. EA have had loads of them, especially in that Anthem game. You know, like, they'd have rooms where, like, you'd go just to have, like, a mental breakdown. Like that's not acceptable. Like, you know, as the industry as a whole, that needs to all change. And by having shorter dev cycles and having a more concise dev cycle, I think that will help that a lot. But at the end of the day, like, and here's the thing, right? If you look at the greatest studios in the gaming industry right now, they are owned and ran by game developers, right? Whereas if you look at studios that are doing kind of nefarious business tactics, they are biz dev guys who've been brought in, and, you know, maybe for the last 30 years they've been CEO of, like, Chuck E. Cheese or something. You know, like, they just get brought in because they're a good CEO, or, you know, they're not actually, haven't worked up the ranks. They don't know the ins and outs of the industry. Like, I believe to be a good studio owner, you have to have done everything. You have to have gone through the slog. You have to have put in the hours. You have to put in the work. You have to have, you know, answered all them reviews. You have to have done all the interviews. You have to do all that. And that makes you a better person. And I think it makes you more humble, and makes you appreciate the player. Like, the player is the most important thing. And I say that so much, but it means so much to me. And if anyone ever looks at our Twitter, you'll see it's positivity. Like, we have an internal rule that we send out like 40 messages a day to upcoming developers, just to tell them you're doing a good job. You're doing a good job. Keep up the grind. You know, keep up the good work. Nice work type of thing. And it's so important. And, you know, the more you do that, the better. You know, the better it is going to be. Like, if you build a community of positivity, you'll be amazed at what can happen. Like, you know, this is the way I, you know, and it's a company philosophy as well, and being a manager, a kind of business owner, you know, I train staff to want to be able to leave the company. Like, I train them to have enough skill to leave the company, but they never leave because they love the company. They love the philosophy behind the company. They love what they do. They love, you know, everything about it. I believe that if you think you're working, you're doing the wrong job. You know, like, you should be able to go every single day. You should be able to, you know, grind it out, and you should love it. Like, the amount of fun we have in the office is crazy. It's great crack, like, you know, and it's a great time. And then seeing developers, like, I love hopping on streams when people are playing my game. I really do love it. I usually hop on a stream, and I usually give away like 10, 15 keys to whoever's watching. I just give it away.
Oh, wow. That's so nice.
At the end of the day, like, you know, I think if someone's taking the time to watch something that I've made, it's important to give back. And obviously I'm in a position to do that because, you know, gaming's obviously not the only thing we do as a company. We have a film branch that's very successful. So we work a lot in the film industry. So we do a lot of that. So that supports everything. So listen, as long as we can survive, I'm happy to, you know, do whatever I can. And that's why, you know, we do stuff like Kickstarters and stuff like that. A lot of the time we'll do them. We'll do them not to make money, but just to get people in the game. Because we know certain players like to be in game. Like, for example,
put
Most
people's names in games. Or actually what we've done with Costume Kingdom, and it was quite good, and we reached out to a couple of fans who loved the game. We were like, hey, do you want to be in the game? Do you want to do some voice acting? And we just got them in to do it, you know, why not?
Yeah.
You know, it's all good fun. Like, if people like the franchise, they'll do a good job. And, you know, so it's definitely, it's something that we like to integrate with. The more we can integrate with the community, the better, and the better the title's going to be. And, you know, that labor of love comes through every time, and that's the main thing, really, to get across to the players. And, you know, if we've done that, then we're, you know, in my eyes, we're successful. And, you know, that's really my thing.
Wow. Oh my God, Josh. Oh my God. Bravo, man. This was really amazing. Could you give the fans a little bit of outro about yourself and about your company and everything, and what they can look forward to? Because I know some of them still don't believe you're a Sony dev. So could you please like give them a quick outro of yourself and when they can expect the game and everything to come out?
Yeah. Well, okay. So for anyone that doesn't know, my name is Josh Loveridge, and I'm managing director of Loveridge Digital Limited and Stratton Studios. So Stratton Studios is a full-service game publishing and development studio. We develop games for, as I've mentioned throughout the whole thing, Sony. We're registered Nintendo developers, and we're also registered Microsoft developers, but we develop for Sony exclusively. If anyone has any kind of doesn't believe that I'm a Sony developer, please reach out to me on Twitter. You know, Josh Loveridge or at Stratton Studios. Literally send the page a message saying, I don't believe you're a Sony developer, and I will send you whatever proof you would like of that I'm an actual dev. You know, I've made our three professional titles up to this point are The One We Found, which launched on Xbox One in 2018. That was a survival horror experience, kind of like Resident Evil. Then our next title was Castle Costume, which was a collectathon platformer, kind of like, you know, Banjo-Kazooie style game, Halloween themed. And that was launched last year on PlayStation 4. And then this year we're releasing Costume Kingdom on PlayStation 4. And, you know, that's coming out in October. And, you know, it's going to be a great title. As I say, I'm very... there's a lot of information about me on the internet. I've done loads of interviews over the years. You know, so just look me up, Josh Loveridge, and you'll find everything you want to know about me. And if there's anything specific you want to know, like, you know, I've been asked some weird questions in my time, but I'm always open. I'm always open for another. So just drop me a message, whether that be on Facebook, Twitter, whatever. I'm open, and, you know, we can have a chat about it. You'll probably, if you do look me up, you'll probably see a lot of stuff around the films industry. I'm a very high end post-production person. I've worked on franchises like Star Wars, and so you'll see a lot of information regarding that. But Stratton Studios is the main hub for our game and stuff, and that was previously known as Loveridge Designs. So you might see, like, if you look up The One We Found, you'll see that was made by Loveridge Designs. So you'd be like, that wasn't made by Stratton Studios, phony. No, but we used to be called Loveridge Designs before we rebranded into Stratton Studios. So just drop me a message or have a look up about me. We have a YouTube channel actually for Stratton Studios where we do like react videos. So I like break down trailers of PlayStation games. So it's if you're into game dev, or maybe you're wondering, okay, how do they do that in games? What's the actual technical stuff going on behind it? It's a nice thing to take a look at. And if maybe you're an aspiring developer who's always wanted to get into games, drop me a message. I'm always more than happy to, you know, share my experience with you or help you out. I'll hop on a call with anyone that wants, you know, some advice or anything, and I'll, you know, give you the best advice I can. I mean, you know, when I started out, it was very tough. It was a very it was a fortress to get into, you know. No one in Ireland was doing it. Like, there's only 5 studios in Ireland really that are making a big difference. Like, the rest of them are just kind of hobbyist developers, like, that aren't really out there yet. They're up and coming. Like, we're a growing nation with regards to gaming. And you know, so when I was first starting out a couple of years back, it was like, how do I do this? There's no path to any of this. So then I was like, right, I had to carve a path. And that was a horrible experience. It really was. It was tough up and coming. But now that I've done it, I just want to share that experience with anyone and help them. Because if I can help someone and they make something awesome, well, then I've helped.
And that's the thing, like, you know, and to be able to give back is the best thing. Because there's one thing in life, and this is one of my philosophies: if you give something, then you can take something. It's all about giving before you take. You've got to give twice as much as you take. And I'm a big giver. And I think that the more you give, the more you'll get in the long term. I strongly believe in karma. And, you know, the more people I can change every day. If I change someone's life for the better in some small way every single day, well, then that was a successful day. And as a company as a whole, that's the ethos I push, you know. So yeah, drop me a message, and whoever doesn't believe I'm a Sony developer, I'd love to have a chat with you. You know, I'd love to find someone who would come on like a podcast and just be like, yeah, I'm a Sony developer, and then them not be a Sony developer. I think that'd be the best skit ever. But
you know, people just, I don't know, they're not convinced enough. You know, some of them are Xbox fans, some of them are just like in denial, like, oh my God, there's no way this is a PlayStation centric developer and everything like that. And I think that's like the beauty of it, you know, is that not a lot of developers want to talk to influencers, which I think they should do more of. And that's why I kind of gravitate to you a lot. So I think once certain NDA stuff is like lifted on the PS5, I would love, like anytime, just message me. We'll set something up. I would love to have you on here, because the knowledge that you have given me and the fans, I can't thank you enough. I am so grateful for your time and your knowledge, man. I mean, it just blows my mind and opened my mind up a lot more when it comes to the PS5 and obviously the game and just the whole development teaching that you have given us today. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so thankful.
Yeah, listen, and I'll definitely come on again, and once we get everything sorted, once, as I said, the NDA stuff lifts. And listen, I don't see why developers don't come on and have a chat with people, because the more informed consumers are, the better decision you can make. I don't want you wasting your money on something that you're not going to like, regardless of if I have a financial benefit in it or not, whatever. Listen, it's all about having, you know, as I say, positive vibes, positive experience. And the more we can spread that, and the bigger community that can get built, the better. You know, the bigger one of us grows, the bigger the other will grow in the long term. And that's the real beauty of, you know, technology and where we're at today. And you know, and that's really it.
Yeah, most definitely. I'm so glad that you were able to answer all their questions. Now they're actually really excited. So I know you're busy, and I know you got some things to do and everything. So we're not gonna keep you up, but we'll love to have you back on here again, Josh. I'm so thankful. All right, thank you so much. God bless.
No, it's my pleasure. And listen, I'll talk to you again soon.
Okay. Looking forward to it. Thank you so much.
No, my pleasure. All right, bye. See you guys.
All right, guys. So that wraps up that dev interview here. I know some of you guys are in denial and everything, but hey, I worked hard to make this happen. They reached out to me, and I just thought that I would share all of this with you guys. So if you're brand new to the channel, click that subscribe button. There's going to be a whole lot more where that actually came from. And, you know, make sure you have your notification bell on, especially leading over into next week. As soon as stuff is lifted with the NDA, as you guys know, I know a lot of you guys have a lot of questions when it comes to the PS5 and everything. And he can't really talk too much in depth because he's under strict NDA. And so I tried to do the best that I could for you guys to get as much information out of him as possible. But yes, he is a PlayStation centric dev. He was with Microsoft. His company was with Microsoft before. Microsoft treated him like really bad. So they left. They went to Sony. Sony took very good care of them. And this is why I've been preaching this stuff on this channel for a very long time, telling you guys that, look, Sony is the way to go. Like, he just break it down and let you guys know, if you're on the fence, get a PlayStation 5. You guys already know what you can expect already. So I've been telling you guys that, but some of you guys are saying, oh, you're a fanboy in this. No, because I want you guys to spend your money correctly. You know what I'm saying? I want you guys to get true value for your money. Right now, Microsoft is just not delivering that sauce. You heard what he just said about Halo Infinite. He literally broke down the whole Halo Infinite situation for you guys. and let you know that, man, that was unacceptable. Like, what the heck were they doing with $500+ million? You know what I'm saying? So he just said Microsoft just didn't have what they were actually looking for. And Microsoft was actually limiting them on what they wanted to achieve. So you don't want to be working under something. And that would explain why we've been getting all these crappy experiences, right? Certain good stuff gets delayed or canceled, and then we don't hear about it anymore. So it just goes to show you, I'm going to try to do the best I can to get more developers on here. Instead of listening to all these crazy folks saying whatever they're saying, we're going to have more developers on here to give you guys concrete information about, you know, the PS5, about the Series X, or what have you, and what they're allowed to actually talk about. And none of this wouldn't be possible if it wasn't for you guys, you know, supporting the show. I work very hard every single week trying to make the channel better, trying to do, you know, good work for you guys. Thank you so much for that $10. Says, nice work, Marlon. Keep doing your thing. Thank you so much, man. So more devs. I want to differentiate this channel different from other channels. I want to do something special for you guys because you guys take the time out of your day and do that. Don't worry, I'm going to work with him on giving away some of the game, like some of the codes and everything like that for this game. This game apparently is going to be on PS5 as well. So I know my camera is like fuzzy. I'm sorry. So he said that he's going to be able to give me some keys so I can give it out to you guys so you guys can actually play. They're a huge fan of the channel. And, you know, like I said, I'm going to pull some strings, see if we can get some more people on here, some more higher ups at Sony. And this is how we're going to roll, like, moving forward. You know, I want to give you guys something really cool, give you guys a different type of experience. All right. So it feels weird streaming on a Sunday, but I think moving forward, because of the reception that we're getting, I think moving forward, I think I'll just have my days off on Saturdays, and then Sundays we might just do something special. All right. So stay tuned for that. Thank you, new sponsors and everything. Really do appreciate you guys. I say he shut down Jeff Grubb about the smart shift. Yes, he also, the wifey is in here, said, I'm so proud of you. Thank you so much. I know a lot of you guys are proud of me. I work so hard, guys. I didn't eat anything this morning. It just goes to show you my passion, my drive, and my dedication. And I was just talking to the wifey this morning and just letting her know, you know, where I was coming from, you know, especially with this channel and everything. I didn't eat anything this morning. Literally just got up, got excited about this, you know, PlayStation dev interview. And I've been talking back and forth with Josh, and here we are, you know, so I haven't eaten anything. And I just wanted to give you guys my best, you know, because you guys have changed my life in ways that I can't even calculate. And so the more and more PlayStation folks I can get in contact with for you guys and get the information that you guys deserve, that's what I'm going to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to try to do the best, you know, that I can for you guys. And, you know, I told you guys that Xbox, we have a developer from Xbox actually following us now. So I'm going to try to get in touch with them and see if we can get an Xbox approach to everything and see what's going on with Xbox and everything like that. But really work hard on this, guys. I'm not going to get emotional. And as soon as some NDA stuff is getting lifted with PS5, I will have some more information for you guys. I know a lot of you guys want to know about pre-order. You guys want to know about price and all of that. So Josh, very nice guy. I'm pretty sure he will definitely you know, share more and everything like that. So I'm going to get some food in my system. I am freaking starving. So thank you guys so much, man. I love you guys. And I don't think no other content creator will do what I do. Literally, like, haven't eaten like since I woke up. So I love y'all, man. One love and God bless. Enjoy your Sunday. Get hype. You guys know how we get down. Go check out Costume Kingdom. There's no release date on it. I think he said it's coming out in October, but I'm pretty sure it's going to come out for PS5. I will have a giveaway for the game. So people that want to play the game, I'll hand out, you know, random codes, and Josh will be back on here again, and we'll have some more developers for you guys, man. One love and God bless, man. Peace. I love y'all. Be blessed, be easy, stay safe, and I'll see you guys Monday. Keep it gaming. We out of here. Gang.